Are we ready?
Yep.
All right.
Okay, everybody. So, a couple weeks ago, Eric was in the hallway for various things, and I stopped him and said, "Hey, you want to talk to my class?" He's like, "Sure." And now he's here. My guess is you all know him.
Nope.
Eric is our town cop.
One of them, yes.
One of them.
Yeah.
And you might have other ways to discuss that and introduce yourself.
Yes.
There we go. I'll let you take it away.
All right, great. Well, obviously you guys know who I am. My name's Eric. I'm sure I've seen a lot of you guys around. Just a little background here, and thanks, Robin, for having me today. This will be my last speaking engagement ever. I'm done at the end of the week, for good. So, all right, a bit about myself. I was born and raised in Westbrook, Minnesota, went to high school there, not really knowing what I wanted to do. I spent probably most of my high school years having a good time. You heard that when I said I'm not taking homework. I didn't take high school seriously. I graduated in early 81. So a long time ago. And I always thought that I never thought my career would, or a career would bring me here. When I was in high school, I was a lazy student. I had all my classes that we needed to graduate back then. It's not like you guys now, we had to have, what, 2 maths, 2 science, and a biology, and, you know, pretty good to go. So in the middle of my junior year, I just took elective classes. And a good friend of mine and I decided we're gonna take home ec. Why? Because easy grade, and we got to cook, and we like to cook, so. We did that, and I thought, yeah, this is pretty good, so I took it my senior year, and him and I always talked about going to chef school. I could handle that. Well, I went home one night, told my folks, I'm gonna be a chef, and they thought that was the dumbest idea I've ever had. As a matter of fact, I don't think I had a good idea until I was 37, according to my folks. So, I thought, okay, what am I gonna do? And the bad part about that is, my buddy did go to chef school. My buddy was the head chef out of Atlantic City, and at 51 years old, he retired. So, I kinda missed the boat on that one, but there was always something that made me think, you know, oh, a cop would be interesting. And I went to college at Worthington for 1 year, because my folks said I have to go to college. I hated college. I hated high school. I'm not gonna like college. So, I went anyway, and, you know, so I think my folks paid for a year of me missing classes, drinking, you know, partying. Yeah, so the next year I didn't go back. I was doing some on and off jobs, not really knowing what I wanted to do. And I was kind of in a rut, I really was. And, you know, one night I was sitting down in my basement, and I thought, I gotta do something different. I gotta do something different with my life. I was 26 years old at the time, and I thought, you know, I turned on the TV and I watched a Dirty Harry movie. Clint Eastwood, and I thought, I want to be a cop. So when I thought that, the next day I called Alexandria, got the application, they sent it to me, filled it out. 2 weeks later I got a call, said I have to do my physical test to get in. I went, I'm accepted. So within about a month and a half, I went from not knowing what I was going to do to drinking beer, watching Clint Eastwood, thinking I'm going to be a cop. I got accepted, I moved to Alex. Loved it, but being out of school so long, I didn't know how to study anymore. I really didn't. So these young kids were there, and yeah, okay, I think I can do this. And it made a big difference, because now I'm paying for college on my own, so I thought, I better learn this, but I'm not gonna piss my own money away. And I did. And during that time, I found out that, you know, there's a lot of different things I wish I would have paid attention to in high school. And I had a gentleman who was my report writing, basically an English teacher. I hated English. I did. I hated everything about English. I don't know what this preposition to a verb to a not, I don't care. But, sorry.
Same.
But he made it so interesting for me that I thought if I didn't want to be a cop, I would have been an English teacher. I learned that much. And in learning that, I also learned that communication is huge. It is, you know. So, I thought, okay, I graduated, worked a couple part-time jobs starting in 1990, went to Balloton for 20 plus years. They went to the county. I knew Chief Spindler here from a very long time ago. They had an officer that quit or moved to the county. I got hired here and it'll be 6 years, January 2nd, so been very quick. But anyways, that is a little bit about myself. I'm married, I got 3 boys. I'm not gonna tell you how old they are, because that makes me feel old. But none of them went into law enforcement, which I am very thankful. I would not, and I understand people have to do it, but I would not recommend this job right now to anyone. There is just so much going on right now, even in a small town. You know, I find myself being more and more and more cautious every shift I go out. So, but anyways, so married, 3 kids, and a dog. That's so. Anyways, we're getting to the questions here now. You know, the first one, what did I learn? What was the most valuable thing I learned in high school? I wish I could tell you. I really do. Like I said, I didn't take a book home my junior and senior year. I didn't do homework. I was busy having fun. However, I always kind of, I had this in my mind that maybe I wanted to do this, the chef thing. You know, I had ideas, but I never acted on them, in which I wasted a lot of time. I did. So, maybe just, I don't know. You know, in the English class, which class I hate, it was just always something that the communication was huge. So, what was my first job? Well, I was raised on a farm, so if my dad didn't have work for me to do, he shipped me off to the neighbors who did have work. You know, and back then, $1.50 an hour, that was some big money. Then, my first job, I worked at a grain elevator. I did enjoy that for a while, and that was a seasonal thing. And then after that, my previous jobs really never pointed me in the direction of law enforcement. It was just, thank God for Clint Eastwood and Dirty Harry. I did go to Alex for law enforcement, and I chose Alex because I actually had a relation of mine that went there, and it was a 2-year program, associate arts degree. I chose that because during the course of my schooling there, all my skills were covered. We would have PT, 2 hours every day. We would run, we would do push-ups. And when we got done with that, we'd do some push-ups and then we'd run. We got up to about 5 to 6 miles a day, but I don't know, 300-400 sit-ups, 300-400 push-ups. Then we started working. My instructor was a Marine. He had done 2 tours, and he was big as, or wide as his table right here. Big man, but learned a lot from him. Then we had to take, you know, when they threw some sociology, we had to do some of that, and I thought, nah, do I really want to do this? I mean, do I want to know how people's minds work? Hell, I don't even know how mine works. So I went there, took that, and lo and behold, I graduated. I thought, my gosh, I finally finished something I started, and I enjoyed it. My cousin, who was there a few years before me, got me a job, and I guess this is where I ended up, so. 2-year degree. There was a push here a long time ago, many years ago, for a 4-year degree in law enforcement. And I don't know if anybody's ever considered law enforcement, but until these jobs start paying 4-year degree money, I honestly don't think that a 4-year degree is a necessity. You know, unless you're going BCA, unless you're going to a huge department and you eventually want to get into administration, then I understand it, so. What did I study outside of my career? I worked for 2 years at a DAC, not knowing what I wanted to do. I absolutely loved it.
Can you tell them what a DAC is?
They have one in town here, you know, for mentally challenged people. I don't know what the proper term is for it anymore these days, but I did enjoy it. Then I got to coach some Special Olympics, which I really enjoyed. But back then, I was working, I didn't have anything set. I didn't have any retirement. I wasn't making enough to save money, and that's kind of what my mindset was. I have to find something that has a pension, that has a retirement. And law enforcement does have a very nice retirement, they really do. So that was kind of what my mindset was back then, is at 25, 26 years, I gotta start thinking for the future, and I did. So that's what got me here. Love living in Alex. If anybody ever lives in Alex, wonderful place. How many hours? Well, Chief Spindler's off on vacation right now and helping farming. Usually a 40-hour week, but weeks are not normal. The last 2 weeks that I've worked, the last 2 weeks pay period, and that which ended yesterday, 2 weeks I put in 128.75 hours. I'm too old to do that anymore. I don't want to do it again, but the fact of the matter is, you get called out, you get back here, you do what you gotta do, you go home, maybe get called out again. Our schedule is, okay, I start this, I work 3-day weekend. You have a 3-day weekend, you have Monday, Tuesday off. You work Wednesday, Thursday, you have a 3-day weekend. Every other weekend is a 3-day weekend off, which is great. I do love that. But this summer, I thought would be smooth, up until, you know, pending retirement. It has been a zoo. There's many nights that I would get called out of bed. And in the summer, I don't mind it, but it is not pleasant getting out in 40 below wind chill. You got snow. And so when it was bad, I just slept in the office. Had a couch in there, that's where I'd sleep. Bring a couple uniforms along, and if I knew the weather's gonna be bad, like it is supposed to be tomorrow. So my hours really, at minimum of 40, and it can go anywhere, so. This, I am being paid by the hour. When I was in Ballatin, it was more of the salary based. We started by the hour. And just to let you guys know, back in 1990, when I first started this job, my first cop job paid $9.75 an hour. And I thought, that's some good money now. Not making much more than that now. It's just terrible. So, anyways, what company benefits you enjoy? Got great health benefits, which is great. Retirement, again, we pay in so much out of our check, and then the city pays, I think we pay 3% in, and the city pays, we pay 3.5%, and the city 6.5%. But yes, it's a very nice pension. Again, that's one thing I was looking for, was plan for the future, which I don't know what you guys have in mind for jobs, but it is never too early to plan for that. How do I organize my work time? Does someone direct or make your, or I make my own decisions? When I came over here, Chief Spindler knew how I worked, I knew how he worked. Being he is the boss, I do call him up and inform him of what I'm gonna do. And I just, as being a chief in a small town before I came here, I just thought that was a courtesy, that you let them know. It's not that I asked him how to do stuff, because we knew how to do stuff. It's just I kept him in the loop in case I somehow would get a complaint, and if he heard anything, he would know what it's about. And trust me, I've had my share of complaints. Sometimes organizing my work is terrible, especially now. When I started here, we had a computer program in the office that we used. What is it, end of October, first part of September, we finally went to CAD dispatching, so we have computers in our squads. Absolutely hate it. Absolutely. If there's a word stronger than hate, that's what I do. However, in this last month, I've learned it, which really scares me, because I swore to myself, I will never, I won't even touch this thing. So now organizing my work, I've got reports for the last 2 weeks that I've gotta get started on. I don't know where to start. I'm supposed to be able to do them in my squad, so when I'm driving around or sitting here by the school or wherever I'm sitting, I can do my reports there. Yeah, theoretically I can, but no, yeah, I can't figure it out, so.
So are you someone who kind of needs a quiet space to focus on stuff like that? Because there's different types of people.
You know, that is one thing that I enjoy when I do my reports, is peace and quiet. However, when I go to my office, I do reports, I put my iPad on and I play music, depending on my mood, you know. If I'm having a good night, I feel really energetic, you know, I'll listen to some hard stuff, you know. It's just back in my high school days, you know, my Led Zeppelin, my you know. Anyways, but if I'm in a mood where, oh geez, I just need to rest, I'll put on classical. You know, I'll put on some blues, I'll put on some grassroots. You guys probably don't even know who I'm talking about. But, you know, so the music that I listen to does reflect how I feel at that time. Music, background noise, yes. I sing terribly, but I'm in the office doing reports, I'm singing like I'm a rock star. And that's how it helps me concentrate, it helps me relax. So everybody needs to have something, you know, whether you sing poorly like me, you know, that doesn't mean you can't sing alone when you're by yourself. You know, you just need that. And classical music, when I have a headache, that is soothing. When I was a kid, my folks listened to that stuff, why are you doing this to me? Why do you have this stuff out? I can't deal with it. Now I understand that it is soothing. So that's how I do that. I like to think that I can get my stuff done on time, as long as it's a quiet setting. But it's hard to do a report when you've got your phone here, you're trying to do this, you're in the middle of a report, you get another call, you leave, you come back to finish it, then you got one waiting for you, you got another call. You know, you guys might not think this town is that busy, but there are days, there's weekends that I would get out of here. 3 days, I have 16, 18 calls. What in the world is going on here? I was not used to that coming from a town half the size. But, you know, you deal with it, and some of the things you do deal with are very stressful, obviously. When I first started and I came out, my first bad call was a 2-year-old that drowned. And I thought, what the heck am I doing here? That was tough. Nobody told me how to deal with accidents. Nobody told me how to deal with blood and guts, or somebody crashed up in a vehicle or burned. Nobody told me how to do that. You get thick skin pretty fast. But when that all happened, I used to take that home. My wife and kids, they would just, they wouldn't even want to see me because I had such a bad attitude. I was just upset, I was irate, and it took me 10, 12 years to actually be able to balance my personal life and professional life. Not bring it home, not bring my work home, but in the same sense, you don't take your personal life to work with you. There are many times that, if the wife and I argued, I would drive around for 8 hours of a shift. I couldn't even remember what I did because I was so upset about something. Now, that's not safe either. And not to say that, something bad can't happen, and it's not even something that somebody would, shoot me or we'd get in a fight. I just wasn't mentally, I shouldn't have been at work having an accident, not paying attention. There's all sorts of things, but you have to balance your professional and your personal life, and that is difficult. So I think the divorce rate in law enforcement is almost 50%. So, you guys get stuck in a marriage that you don't like, go be a cop and it'll end soon. I don't recommend. Is there any travel in this job? Not fun travel. There are times that, yes, you have to make a transport. And there are times that I would come to work at 9 o'clock in the morning on a call, and by 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which I've already put in 7 hours of a 12-hour day, and the one that I recall the furthest is I do it at Thief River Falls. So that's probably about 70 miles from the Canadian border. So I've already worked my 7 hours. I jump in my squad and I drive all the way to Thief River Falls and back the same night. Yeah, there's travel there. There was some fun travel, I will say that, and very good, because a previous chief from here got me started on missing and exploited children's conferences. Excellent training. It was out in Washington, D.C. It was very good training. It was really, it made you think, because the stuff that we've seen, I could not imagine a person exploiting a child the way that I've seen. And there was classes like that was funded through a federal grant. So they would pay our airfare and our hotel, and all we had to do was buy our meals and pop. And it was a week long, excellent training. I was in Washington, D.C. for that. I was in Denver, I was in Nashville, I was in Houston. And where the heck else was that? But anyways, yeah, so there's some travel, and that was the fun stuff. We have to train, we have to have 48 hours every 3 years for continuing it. When you first start, you're training all the time. I would go in for, my license period was good for 3 years. I'd have 300-400 hours of continuing ed credits. Now, I'm shuffling and running around thinking, where am I gonna get my 48 hours in 3 years, because I just don't go to them trainings anymore. So, travel, yes, fun travel, some of it, but tell you what, you drive 300 miles one way and back in the same night, that gets a little long. So, all right. Well, you did make some good company, but that's probably not me. How much change in this career in the next 10 years? We were just talking about that before you guys came in. Things have changed in my 27 years. Everything. From a speeding ticket, from a minor consumption, to whatever other fines, they were cheap. And let me explain cheap. When you had a speeding ticket, if you were 10 miles, 11 miles over, it was a $40 ticket. And every 10 miles an hour it went up increments of $10. Well, now a basic speeding ticket is upwards of $140. a minor consumption, when I started writing them, because I used to work in at the Lindwood, at a dance place when I first started, $80 for a minor consumption. And where are they now? 180, 280? You know, I'm not gonna have any, you guys don't have to answer. I don't wanna know if you got one or not. I haven't given you one, I don't think, but, you know, things have changed. And not only just that, people have changed. Again, we were talking that some of these young officers that come out have no communication skills, no people skills. To me, that's disturbing. If they can't text it, if they can't email it, they don't have a conversation. Now, this is even worse because now we're talking about these computers that we have in our squad car. They've got an instant message on there. So anybody who's working, they can dime me out and ding, I got a message. We can talk through a computer. We don't even have to use our radios anymore. So we got a $5,000-6,000 radio in the car that, I don't know, paperweight at best. So communication, I see that being a huge thing in the next 10 years. I don't know what everyone's take is on these, you know, the lives matter, or blue lives matter, whatever, cops, you know, and I understand it. I mean, don't get me wrong, when I see these stories too, I am frustrated. But I see in the next 10 years, an officer's not gonna be able to shoot anybody unless somebody shoots at them first. I see that coming. When I was in school, now back in the late 80s, an instructor told me that before some of these guys would be done, and they were the young ones right out of high school, that it's gonna be all county policing. You're not gonna even have city police anymore. Which, you see that happen. Pipestone, for instance, you know, Ballatin went with county. You know, eventually I can see it happening here. However, that happening takes away, and this is my opinion, takes away a lot of, you know, people or officers knowing people in their town. If you got deputies coming in, they're just gonna be assigned here for a 12-hour shift. They might be here one day every week or one day a month, but at different places. They're not gonna know you guys. You know, they're not gonna know what kind of kids you are. You know, you're gonna, I like having a relationship where I know, you know, that I can stop out at the school parking lot after a game and, you know, hey, how do you guys do? What's going on? I enjoy that. But you know what? You're not gonna get that if you got countywide policing. Now, dispatch is another thing. They wanted to, in the last few years, and State Patrol has actually done it, excuse me, regional dispatching. Well, I don't want somebody giving me my calls for dispatch from Mankato or Rochester. State Patrol has one in Minneapolis and one in Duluth. Minneapolis dispatches State Patrol in this area. That's changed. Marshall used to have a dispatch for State Patrol. They used to have a dispatch for police, and used to have a dispatch for the county. That's all combined. The police and the county are combined in Marshall. So they're downsizing that. They are cutting areas here in law enforcement that in 10 years, you probably not even gonna recognize. I don't think I'm gonna recognize law enforcement at that time. I really don't. There's gonna be that many changes. For the better, that's yet to be seen, but I do not think so. I think a town like this, you know, you know people, you know, it just makes my job easier. You know, if I wanted to be a jerk all the time, absolutely I could. But what's that gonna get me? And this was always my mindset too. It's nice to know I can be a jerk if I have to, but you don't do it all the time. That's just exhausting. And then if I need some help from anybody, if I met you on the street and I ripped on you for an hour, and all of a sudden I need some information, are you gonna give it to me? Probably not. And I wouldn't expect you to, because I just ripped you for an hour in front of your buddies for, I don't know, being a knucklehead. I don't know what, I mean, for whatever you're doing. So there's changes coming, and I don't see them for the good in this career. All right. How does this company or business look for future employees? I'll tell you what, my boss, Chief Spindler, is looking now. he had to open it up twice because he didn't get that many applicants. In 1990, I applied for my first job, and that was in Olivia. I don't know how big that town is. I'm just about ready to graduate. I'm excited. I'm going to my first job interview. One job, 180 applicants. Now, yeah, that's great. Well, obviously I didn't get that one. Went up to Mitchell, South Dakota, bigger town. They had over 200 applicants for 3 positions. And I thought, how am I gonna get a job in this market? Now, Marshall Police Department, which pays well, which has great benefits, great facility, a big enough town, they can't get a dozen people to apply for a cop job. This job is not as, I don't know, as cool as, it used to be, or that's what people think. It's not attracting a lot of people, so. When I went to cop school, I had to do a background, I had to have a psychological, which I thought, I passed that, I screwed them over. But I want to take a psychological next week when I'm done and just see how screwed up I really am. Because that's it, that's the thing, you're dealing with everybody else's problems. You're gonna have problems, you're gonna have problems, you're gonna have problems. You got your own problems. But, you deal with everybody else's, you forget about your own, and all of a sudden they get to the point where they're almost crashing down on you. So, balance, you gotta learn how to balance, and it took me a long time to figure that one out. Okay, we're talking about communications. How necessary is it to communicate clearly with people? How do you achieve it? You practice, and you practice, and you practice. You stand in front of a mirror and you practice. In this profession, when I first started, I didn't know what I was doing right away. I didn't get that much training, I drove around town for a while, they gave me the keys and said, you're working tomorrow night. Oh, okay. So the secret, or the secret to the communication was, I might not know what I'm talking about. I may be way off the reservation, but you're not gonna know it. Because I'm gonna be confident in what I say, they're gonna do what they're told, and if it's wrong, I can correct it. That's why we have county attorneys, that's why we have city attorneys. However, I'll diffuse the situation, I'll do my charges, the county attorney will say, yeah, we're not gonna charge them, or yes, we will. So, communication, you have to practice it, you have to be able to communicate clearly to people, and another thing is, you have to remember, or not really remember, you have to understand the level of intelligence, or whatever you want to call it. You have to understand who you're talking to, what their attention span is, what their level of comprehension is. Some people, they just don't get it. And you can only dumb it down so much. And then you think, am I gonna have to draw stick pictures just to show you what's going on? And believe me, it does get to that. But I learned early as well that if I'm in a situation where there's a call, and when you arrive, you kind of have an idea if somebody's going to jail or if somebody's not. So, I can screw up somebody's weekend really good. So, I ask them once. If they don't comply, I tell them. But there won't be a third time. If I have to say a third time, those words are, turn around, put your hands behind your back. You know what? I don't have to sit out there and argue for 45 minutes with somebody where I could be doing something else or should be doing something else. They've been told, they've been asked, then they've been told. If they don't understand it by then, well, then you know what? You're going out even home. You're going to Marshall. You're going wherever. So that's where an open line of communication, or being able to express things to people, no matter if they're little kids or adults, old people. Now, dealing with old people, that's a treat. I tell you, because some of these, they just don't understand it, and then they can't hear, and you're this close to them, and you are physically, pulling their ears open, saying, okay, maybe this will help them listen. I don't know, but you guys have, communication is good. How many of you guys are in a speech?
They all have to take speech this year.
Really?
Yep, about 12 of them are in speech right now.
When I was in high school, you know, I thought, what a, I don't want to offend anybody, but I thought, I think back then it was called declam or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, I thought, that's for geeks. I did, I mean, no offense to anybody. My boys took it, all three of them, and they went state competition. Had I known the advantages of that, oh, I would have done that all day long in high school. I can talk the leg off a chair, I can't. You know, I mean, a typical day for me is, you know, if I don't want to talk to anybody, I'll go hide. But there's times, I mean, my gosh, I put on 10 miles in a whole shift, and I'm busy talking to people, drinking coffee. And that's part of the job too, you know, you've got to get along with people. I can't tell you how many warm cups of coffee, how many freezer burnt cookies I've eaten over the years at an old lady's house when you have to go there because their cat is missing. You know, then you gotta eat this, then they gotta make you this, oh, can I make you a sandwich? Good Lord, lady, you know? I know, it is, and old people can be fun, they can be frustrating, but they're a lot of fun too, they really are. So, technology. It has rushed me into retirement. All right, when Chief Spindler got the computers, and that started probably back in March of last year, and they said it's gonna be a year before it gets right. Thank God I'm gonna get done. Well, then I got word for it that you just gotta take your squad in, put a mount in it. For what? For your computer. Really? Okay. I spent about the first month with it. I've got a $4,000 deck of cards sitting in my squad, because that's all I did with was play solitaire or Spider-Man. That's why I played some poker. That was the extent of my computer use in the squad. So, you know, has it, technology, some things are way above my pea brain or my mindset. Technology in other areas, yes, very good. You know, we would have to send stuff in on cases to the BCA. You know, way back when I started, you had 6, 8, 10 weeks to wait for your results. You know, now you get them back in a week. Technology up there, yes, they got the best of stuff up there to get for us. We have items in our squad that if I drive around, you got some marijuana in your pocket, I got a test, I got a little kit that you put some of that, the substance in, you squish it, breaks some fluid, turns color, yes, it's marijuana. Or cocaine or meth, you know, we have that, that's great. As far as the communications, the radios, oh my God. Conceivably, with my squad car radio, if I knew what I was doing with that, I could be in Duluth and I could talk to dispatch back here if I went from tower to tower to tower to tower. Do I know how to do it? No. So am I gonna learn it? Hell no. I'm just not gonna do it. No. So, like I said, me and the computer, I was very amazed that I could put Pandora on my iPad. I was. That was a, you know, that was a shift. I'll tell you what, I got done with that, I was like, wow, I did it. So,
Question for
technology, yes.
You and I talked last week about how technology has kind of changed the kinds of cases you're looking at.
Oh, absolutely.
And we've got 5 minutes left. Could you brush on that?
Oh my goodness,
Just a-
I've been yapping that long.
You've been on a roll. It's been great.
Okay, a lot of, you know, our cameras, you know, you've got body cameras, you've got, you know, the trail cameras are a big thing. You know, now, we have something going, we can go up, we can burn a disc and, you know, have our evidence, that makes part of the report, everything's on a DVD, everything's on the computer. Technology, video, audio, you know, we can record calls, it's great. I have my police cell, I can program the phone on my desk in my office, if it calls there, it's gonna forward to my police phone. How do I do it? I don't know, John did it. So to answer your question, we have so many things out there that we can use, that we do use, you know, to solve crimes, cases, whatever. It's very good. It's great. I enjoy that, so.
Have the nature of the crimes changed as well?
I find, and you guys know it as well as I do, thefts are huge. You know that. When I first started, it was drug usage. That was a big thing. Alcohol. You know, I don't see that as much now. I see the burglaries, the thefts, the destruction, vandalism. That stuff is getting to be really rampant here. And how do we do it? Well, you know what? In a small town, people know our schedules. They know when we work. They know when we're off. You know, they don't see a squad for an hour. Well, they're off. So it's hard to do that. But the violent crimes, the domestic situations, I do not deal with them as much as I first did. It was always arresting people for domestics, and that's what the state says you will. If there's any doubt, if you got a mark, and I don't even know how it gets there, I will make an arrest, the judge starts it out. So, man, I can't believe that I've talked this long without. You know what? We got a couple minutes. What do you guys want me to, you guys have any questions?
How do you deal with like rude or upset people?
How do I deal with them? Not well. Not well. I do not let rude, obnoxious people dictate the conversation or what's happening. I will stand there. I want their story. They tell me the story, but they do get upset. They yell at me. And you're like, you didn't call me so you could yell at me. I'm here to help you out. Rude people, they drive me nuts. And I just don't let them control a conversation. By the time I'm done, usually they're calm. But sometimes you go away and they're cussing you behind your back or to your face, whatever. So you get thick skin. Any others?
What's been the worst encounter like on duty?
You know, I was thinking about that one the other day. It was probably an accident. That was bad. I had 3 people that burned to death in a vehicle. I pulled up on the scene right after it happened. I had a guy looking out his window at me. I'm 5-6 feet away. You can see the flames going up. You can see his mouth open. You can see his eyes open. You can see his fingers falling off when they were burning. So, what am I supposed to do with this? You know, you see crap like that. Then there's times I had a stolen vehicle. Reported stolen. There could have been weapons in there. I'm driving, that's where I worked in Balta. I'm south of Garvin on Highway 59. My radio doesn't work. I've got 3 male parties with long jackets on who exit a vehicle. I don't know if they have weapons. They're from me to you away, and I've got my weapon out. I've got my weapon pointed at somebody's chest. That scared the hell out of me. And I get back in the vehicle, I thought, what did I just do? How close was I to actually squeezing that up? If somebody would have made a move, you know, I would have probably been one of those people that we would have started a riot down here. You know, they'd have blocked off Highway 14 or something. I don't know. You know, taking kids away is tough. Death notifications. You know, that is, you just don't know how people react. Some people, yeah, and other people just flip out. They don't believe you, they punch you, they hit you, they slap you. Yeah, so, you know, there's a lot of different things, but I think the accidents, to me, were the worst. They really were. So, it's amazing. You don't think a human body can take some of the destruction that you see and still survive. It's amazing. So, any others? Yes?
If you had the choice to be a cop again, would you?
Absolutely no. No. And not, don't get me wrong, have I loved this career? Absolutely. I've loved everything about it. Everything I love about it, I also hate. How many birthdays of my kids I missed, how many school events that I missed, how many, you know, holidays did I have to get up from a meal to go deal with somebody else's problems. I had to arrest a lady, and at that time, I suppose she was about in her mid to upper 40s, on Christmas Eve on a domestic situation. Now, how fun is that when you have the kids sitting around a Christmas tree and this lady has to get arrested? I sure don't feel like Santa Claus. So, would I do it again? No. And I know people have to do it. Would I recommend this career? You know, I have a hard time, I would have a hard time doing it right now. So, but like I said earlier, I've loved what I've done for 27 years. I'm ready to be done, and I'm not going to be, I'll be sad about missing people. I will not be sad of not going to work.
Final words of wisdom for these guys.
When I was in school, I didn't take it seriously, and there's so many things I wish I would have done differently. You know what? You guys are at that age where you kind of know the direction you want to go. You know, you put your phones away, you do stop the texting, you talk face to face with people. You know, it's not that difficult to do. Excuse me. You know what? It's just, you prepare yourself, prepare for the future, but, you know what? You're still young. Have fun. I mean, really, you enjoy your life. A job is what you're gonna do for your life, for the rest of your life. But that doesn't mean you have to be your job. Every day, I've got a little note that I read. The bottom line is, smile, you don't own all the world's problems. You know, there's a lot of things here. There's 7 items, 7 rules of life. You guys look them up online someday. Just type in Google 7 rules of life. You know, I've handed this out to other officers. I really have. And they thank me for it. And a lot of good advice in here. So, live life to the fullest. Love what you do. Do what you love. So, I appreciate it, you guys coming in. If there's any other questions, absolutely. If not, you guys, it's been a pleasure knowing you, been working with you, talking with you, and after this weekend, I will not see you anymore. So, take care.